Hi, all, and welcome to today's Ask Me Anything session. My name is Jamie, an enrollments advisor here at Fourth Dev. And today's Ask Me Anything session is with one of our past students. So, really exciting. Before I introduce our past student to the audience, just a few house rules. So we will be using a Q&A function for this chat today. So please save all of your questions or use the Q&A function for those questions. We'll be looking at that in the second half of today's session, and also the chat function. So if you're experiencing any technical difficulties or have any comments, please use the chat function and our events team will be able to respond to you there. We'll also have some brochures and links in the chat function as well. So as we're speaking about them, please make sure to have a look at that. Now, just a quick overview of Fourth Dev and the UX and UI product design career accelerator. So for all of those in attendance today, you might be a career changer, a career advancer, or someone really thinking about switching over into this industry. The Career Accelerator has been designed to be a 6-month learning program where you gain fundamental skills within the product design space and you walk away with a certificate at the end to showcase your skills. Now, that's not all. You'll walk away with a full portfolio consisting of 4 projects, which would relate to the entire life cycle of UX, UI, and product design. So you'll be researching users, understanding people, going through prototyping and wireframing. So the initial design phase all the way to the final design and getting the feedback from your users. So the full life cycle and your portfolio that you walk away with at the end will have very comprehensive projects in this area. And for the final project of the 4, you'll be working with a real organization where you get to tackle real world problems as a product designer. It's a group based project, so you'll have the benefit of collaborating with others that you're studying with and to put together strategic recommendations and solutions for this organization. So the portfolio is not just something that you're walking away with to showcase, but it's experience that you're after that can also be very beneficial for your CV. So this is the key takeaways, and another big part of our program is career coaching, where you'll be working with an executive style coach over our 6-month program, and they will be working with you in one-on-one sessions to really work out the goals that you have for yourself and then also put in place the activities that you'll be working on to actually achieve that. So you have the 6 months you're with us to book in those sessions and work with them. And you also have some time after the program to wrap up any unfinished sessions that you might have. So this summarizes what is the key takeaways of this program. Again, it's for anyone considering a shorter path into the industry without either going back to university or lacking the job experience. This is a combination of everything you would need. Now, in terms of time dedication, so we'd all love to study online, but the reality is it's an intense program over 6 months. So coming in with the right amount of time to dedicate is very important. Now we set it at 15 to 20 hours per week, but please note this is just a guideline. There is so much content to go through, and we give you access to the learning platform after the program as well. So, should you feel that you can't get through absolutely everything in 6 months in terms of the content you need to go through, then don't worry, there is some time for that afterwards. So, 15 to 20 hours a week to get through all the content for that week, which is a mixture of video content, written content, activities, and you will check them off as you're getting through that content for that module in the week. So if you're comfortable with this time commitment, then that is going to help you uh, set the time frames for success. Then on top of that, we also support you with live sessions every week. So the program is very self-paced, it's self-driven as well. So you'll be logging in and taking responsibility for how you spend your 15 to 20 hours in the week. We will support you with 2 to 3 live sessions that happen, and these are with our course facilitators. And our course facilitators we hire directly from industry. The benefit here is that you get to work alongside and be mentored by actual product designers, and this can be very beneficial when it comes to how does this content relate to the real world. So it needs to correlate. So 2 to 3 sessions a week, about 2 hours of recorded live sessions. So if you can't attend because perhaps you're a working professional or you do have other responsibilities like childcare, for example, then you can always save those or watch the recorded live sessions every week in a time that actually works for you. So this is what the weeks would look like over your 6 month period, mostly self-paced. You have the weekly sessions that are for check-ins, to run through course content, and to make sure you do feel supported getting through the Career Accelerator. So this is what it's all about. It's about building key skills and unlocking your full potential through a very rigorous program. Now, I'm sure some of you might have heard from me or an enrollment advisor before, but it's best to hear these things directly from those that have done it. And today's Ask Me Anything session is all of giving you, the audience, a chance to hear directly from a student. And as mentioned in the beginning, I will be giving a chance to everyone to post up their questions in the live Q&A we have. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce Claire, who is one of our graduates. She graduated this year, and I would like for Claire to join us now and maybe give a brief introduction for the audience. Thank you, Claire.
Hi, Jamie. Hi, everyone. Hope you can hear and see me okay. My name's Claire Lenihan. I live in Southeast London in the UK. I was a supply chain management consultant for a number of years before taking a career break, in which I ended up undertaking this course. So I graduated at the end of August this year, so it's all still very fresh to mind. But yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to helping you make the right decision for you. I joined a session similar to this one ahead of joining the course, so I know how helpful it can be. So yeah, looking forward to speaking to you.
Thank you so much, Claire. And yeah, I mean it's so recent that you finished, so I'm glad we're getting you now because you still remember so much of the
Yes.
experience. But I'd like to start at the very beginning, where a lot of our attendees today might be in their decision-making journey. So if you could tell me, Claire, and the audience, how you found out about the Career Accelerator and what actually helped you make the decision to sign up.
Yeah, sure. Interestingly, because I don't think I've ever made a decision like this before through this route, but I was actually served an advert. I think it was probably on Instagram. And it was a point in my career break where I was kind of thinking, I want to move forward. I want to do something kind of proactive and, re-engage with the job market and with kind of learning. So yeah, I saw an advert. And I obviously clicked into it and did a bit of reading. My career previously did involve some aspects of digital design, or quite a lot of aspects of digital design, but it wasn't in the context of user-centered design, UX, product design, that kind of thing. So I was really kind of curious as to like how I could relate what I had done in the past to something new and kind of test out, start to think about whether this would be an interesting journey for my career to move into. So yeah, I read the syllabus and looked at the materials online. As I said, I also joined a session. It wasn't an Ask Me Anything with a student, but it was someone from Fourth Rev, one of our facilitators who ended up being the facilitator that I worked with, a career coach and someone from industry. So that was really interesting to hear them talk about what UX involved. And I remember coming off that call and saying to my husband, like everything about this is appealing to me. Like I really liked the kind of people, they felt like my kind of people. I liked the subject matter. I thought the course was, structured in a way that would suit me and what I was wanting to do. So yeah, I think alongside that, I also had some conversations with an enrolment advisor in the UK. We exchanged some emails. I got to understand what the application process looked like from him, and then went from there really. So yeah, it was a positive experience and something that I was in a position that was quite easy for me to sort of say, yes, I'm ready to do this. Let's go ahead. I appreciate other people might have other kind of considerations they need to make. But yeah, that was my journey.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing, Claire. And I'm sure a lot of our candidates today or audience is possibly career changes similar to yourself. You know, you have limited to no experience with UX or UI, even product design. What was it about your role, your industry that made you feel that it's time to move away from that industry and maybe focus on something different?
Yeah, so for me, like I mentioned, I did have some aspects of digital design in my work, but it was in a very niche area. So I had come through procurement and supply chain was my background, and I had got more into kind of process design, systems design, that kind of thing, implementing SaaS solutions, so software as a service that my clients would buy, and then I would help them to implement it. But because it was in such a kind of niche area that was very highly regulated and very kind of, specific in its focus, I kind of realized that I wanted to do something more broad, that I could apply in a wider range of industries and functions. So I kind of wanted to take the bits that I enjoyed from that area of work, working with stakeholders, understanding business needs, developing solutions, taking people through the design process. But I wanted to be able to do that in a kind of broader context. So that was the basis of my decision. And like I said, it was interesting trying to understand how what I had done that I had kind of learnt on the job related to, what's considered best practice, what's the kind of leading thought leadership in this space. And I think when you learn something on the job, you always kind of wonder if you might have some gaps, and like it would be nice to be sort of to hear from some people in that role about, what are you doing that's good and what could be better, what could be more cutting edge in terms of tools and frameworks and that kind of thing. So yeah, that was what it was for me.
No, thank you so much. And you said earlier that, after your call with the enrollment advisor, after going through the content, you pretty much went home, told your husband that, this sounds like a perfect fit. Was there any particular part of the program that sparked that thought for you that this is because of this feature, this is actually right for me?
Yes, so when I did my degree many years ago, I did a very practical degree that involved work experience, so applying what I was learning in that context. And I know that that really works for me. Like I don't just want it to remain theoretical. I want to apply it, think about how it fits into the real world, and like what does that mean in terms of a job, putting that to use and adding value in the job market. So that aspect of it was important for me. So the employer project, which was our fourth module, as you mentioned, was very important. And just the fact that like you're learning from someone who's in that area and working in that area at the moment. So it's very real world. I don't think I would have considered anything that was a bit more academic and theoretical in its nature. Also, as I said, I liked all the individuals that I met along the way. I felt like design and user experience, user-centered design, that appealed to me, my personality. And I felt like everyone I met along the way kind of had that same, there's a sort of thoughtfulness and an empathy and a kind of, drilling into things and wanting to understand them deeply and that kind of thing. And that kind of came through everyone I met. So that was reassuring as well.
Oh, thank you so much. And I think, from what you're saying, you've done a practical course in university, and I think a lot of but our students and those in attendance might not have had that experience in a university. So often when I speak to candidates, they've never done a practical program, and they're worried that, how practical can it be, and don't I actually need the academic backing to get a role? But as you're describing, it's the practical nature. You've done both, so you'd be a good individual to do the comparison. But it's the practical nature of actually doing something rather than just learning it. It's what the foundation the program
Mm.
is built on. So we've looked at the decision making process, and thank you again for sharing, Claire. Now I'd like to move into, you've made the decision to join. It felt like the best fit for you at the time. What was it like once you joined? What is that initial period, that first few weeks like for you?
Mm. Yeah, I remember sort of having to like get to grips with the portal, the learning portal. So we had two main tools that we would log into on a regular basis. So where a lot of the content and the learning takes place, and then also more of a community area where you can chat and ask questions and things like that. So I just think naturally there's always a bit of a learning curve with those kind of tools, isn't there? You kind of you log in, you're trying to orientate yourself, that kind of thing. So I think at first that aspect, just took a bit of time, as these things do, kind of figuring out, okay, make sure I'm not missing anything, where are the notifications appearing, where are the conversations and discussions happening. So I remember kind of needing to get to grips with that. As you say, it's very self-directed, so people can choose whether they kind of join the calls live or as a recording. Because I had the good fortune to kind of have, this being my main focus, I wanted to join at the calls live, participate and engage in the sessions as they were happening, and also try and get involved in discussions online with my peers and my facilitator, so that I could kind of get the most out of it. So I think just adapting to that, like how much time do I want to spend, how is it going to fit in with my other kind of routines, and making that plan, kind of, I guess the first few weeks just is that, you're adapting to something new, you're getting used to fitting that into your life. I personally found that I felt comfortable quite quickly. I mean, I felt like very lucky. We had a very good group, a very good cohort of learners. We were generally quite like-minded and got on well. So, we set up a WhatsApp group between us, and we were chatting and making friends. And, the people that were based in London, as I am, met up and things like that. So you're kind of getting to know a new community and figuring out who you've got things in common with, and that kind of thing. So for me, I think I felt comfortable and into the routine quite quickly, but I guess everyone's circumstances are going to be different as to how they engage.
No, absolutely. And you're right. We have a mixture of different backgrounds. Some of our learners would be working full time, others part time, and in certain circumstances, the program is the main focus of our learner. Now, we talk about the program being very flexible. Of course, it is structured, it is rigorous, so it shouldn't be mistaken for purely online learning where you decide, everything. There will be a structure, a start date, an end date, and a flow to the program. What was your general flow like? Was it, Monday to Sunday you're putting in hours, or there's specific days in the week you actually found worked for you?
Yeah, I tried to get into a kind of Monday 9 to 5, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday kind of thing. It varied. I think again, like I say, because I was lucky for this to be my main focus, I did read into, so there's a reading list at the end of every module that sort of says where the material has been, sourced from, and suggests further reading. So I engaged in that quite heavily to sort of, I found, and I would say a good tip might be kind of follow your interest. So where there was an area of that particularly piqued my interest, you could easily go down a rabbit hole and read articles and then further articles and just kind of explore and think about, how you would apply that in a work-based context and that kind of thing. Not to give away my age too much, but when I was at uni, there just wasn't that, the internet wasn't kind of where it is now in terms of like, you can just find about anything, and there are blogs and there are tutorials online. So now there's a richness of content that you can just really explore if you have the time and the curiosity to do so. So for me, I wasn't massively structured because I could kind of, follow my interest a bit. But weeks when I was busier, I'd have to be a bit more, like I've only got these hours, so I need to focus on getting stuff done. But generally I found that quite manageable. And like I say, I think you can flex it. Some weeks you might do the bare minimum and you might think, okay, I'm going to catch up on that later. But other weeks I followed, went down rabbit holes reading things and maybe chatting to colleagues, other learners about how we felt about particular topics. So yeah,
Mm.
bit of a mixed bag.
Oh, thanks. So, and you speak quite a bit about the other students that you interact with and collaborate with, which is quite exciting. I think as an online program, one could assume that you'll be on your own, you're not going to meet a single person, you'll get through it. But were you pleasantly surprised at the level of collaboration and relationship building?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, that was one of my favorite aspects of this. I've made some friends on the course that I hope, will kind of be long-term friends. One of my fellow learners and I met up to study together a few times over the course of the course. And again, that suited me very well because it's quite nice to kind of bounce ideas off someone and say about bits that you don't quite understand and get their perspective and things. I don't think everyone was doing that on the course because it, didn't suit everyone necessarily, or we were, people who weren't in London might not have had someone nearby to them. But yes, for me that was nice, and we met up and had a few dinners and things, and kind of got to know each other better. So by the time we got to the fourth module, the employer project, I was very, coincidentally, the way I was put together with my team, I knew most of them quite well, so we had a really good rapport that we could then build on to collaborate effectively.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of candidates, group project, am I going to be with strangers? What will the energy like be in these groups
Mm,
with people I've never met? But you're saying that the relationship building happens long before that point in the program where you're actually getting together to work with someone. I think you need to know someone a little bit to uh, get the most out of an experience with them.
mm,
So it's fantastic to hear that you have had that build up, and then by the time you had to work in groups, it was second nature to you. You're excited to work with these
mm.
individuals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Now, the other learners that you're starting with is not the only people that you'll be interacting with. Now, we have in-house support team that we'll speak of now, but the first we'll look at is your success manager. Now, we speak a little bit about this on our online content and our brochure, but can you, just for the benefit of the audience, describe what working with your success manager was like?
Yeah, I was quite curious about that role, as to like, how is this going to be? How are we going to interact? But I think I was very fortunate to have a very lovely success manager who was, I felt immediately very invested in my, enjoyment and well-being throughout the course. We got to know each other quite quickly. I think this is up to you how much you want to share about your life and your circumstances and stuff, but we had a very open conversation in our first meeting. And I think she could understand, what my concerns were throughout the course, what I was looking forward to, all those kinds of aspects, and then really just support me along the way. So initially we had quite regular check-ins, and then it became a bit more ad hoc as to when I wanted to reach out for support, because like I say, once you're familiar with the tools and you're, getting into a groove, you might not need so much support. I know others on my course leaned on her a lot more and were having like quite regular sessions. So I'd say it's really a kind of single point of contact who both is very encouraging and very supportive, but also can help you, if there's something you're not sure about or something that's not working quite right, she'll put you in touch with the relevant person to kind of resolve that or talk that through. And yeah, it's like a really nice like cheerleader kind of to help you identify your strengths and reassure you about any concerns that you have. So yeah, in the end, after not being too sure what that would be like and what, that would involve, because she's not talking to you about the content of the course per se, it's not about the learning journey, but it's about helping you, helping you make the most out of the experience and make sure that you're feeling good and you're not too anxious about anything and you've got a plan and that kind of thing. So in the end, it was, yeah, a really helpful resource, I think.
On several occasions, the success managers have been called cheerleaders. It's a common word, and I think it best describes them.
Mm,
If you've never had a personal cheerleader, for those in the audience, this is usually what it's like. To have someone helping you believe in yourself is absolutely important. I think when you're doing something over 6 months, you can become a bit demotivated. It
mm,
There will come challenges during the program, but to have someone just to lean back and fall back on, this is what the success team is there for. So thanks for sharing, Claire. And then the second individual I'd like to speak about is your career coach, who I've no doubt you've also formed a great relationship with. And just for the benefit of the audience, again, our career coaches, these are executive coaches that we've brought in to work with each of our students over the 6 months and even beyond in certain situations. And the main goal, as Claire will describe now, is for them to help you navigate the challenges of jumping into a new industry and career, and to support you as well. So Claire, if you could tell us a bit about your journey with the coaching.
yeah. So again, I think that initial conversation was really helpful to kind of build rapport, but also kind of let them know, what is your goal? Do you have a goal? Do you need help to get clarity around that goal? What are your aspirations in the longer term? That kind of thing. A bit about your background so they can help you kind of find the fit that would work for you in terms of job searches, or whatever your situation might be. You might be looking to change career, or try and get promoted in the career that you're already in. So depending on those scenarios, they'll help accordingly. But yeah, so again, I had a really nice supportive career coach. I personally really appreciate this approach, but it was very structured in that there was a tracker that we worked through. So there were specific activities taking you along the kind of journey from goal setting to, identifying your strengths, identifying any development areas, that kind of thing. So you had a Google sheet that you shared and worked on, so you could always remember what it was you discussed in your last session and make sure you were on track, to kind of think through or deliver on the aspects that you had agreed with your career coach. For me, I think particular kind of bits that were helpful was, I remember a question that she asked me about: when was the last time in work that you felt really good and like you enjoyed what you were doing and felt kind of happy and fulfilled? And then that helped you as an exercise to kind of think about what's important to me, what are my values, what am I looking for in a role, what am I looking for in an organization, that kind of thing. So it's just someone to kind of talk through your thought process, bring perhaps to light things that you weren't aware of that you might be concerned about or you might be looking for. And then, yeah, just take you through a really structured kind of process. Again, at your own pace, really. I mean, I didn't feel pressured through any of that. It was, if it was useful to me, then that's what we would engage in. But she's helped to keep me accountable. We've got our last session tomorrow, in fact. So it's kind of the completion of the journey. But yeah, all sorts of things she's helped me with: using LinkedIn effectively, my CV, the portfolio, which you mentioned is a pretty important thing and new to most of us. Like, I never had a portfolio before I did this. So putting that together and getting their feedback was really helpful. So yeah, I think another really good resource that makes perfect sense in terms of getting the most out of the course, and having someone that can really, you can benefit from their experience and their guidance.
No, absolutely. Thanks for sharing. And two things I took away from that, and the first I'll say is that for a lot of us, for candidates, I've never set up a goal before. This is a very interesting process, and I've undergone this process as well as of recently, just to understand what do our students go through, and it's not as simple and easy as one might think. Before you do goal setting, you might think, I'll just set one or two easy goals, but when you really start diving into what are my strengths, areas of development. It really gives you a keen sense of, I can achieve so much more than I've given myself props for. So I'm glad that that process really helped you in goal setting, understanding what it is that deeply you do want to achieve. And another point, which was quite fantastic, is that a lot of candidates I speak to, the first thing they look at is, how well does an industry pay? Because possibly they're considering so many different factors, but there's so much more to consider. What
Mm,
type of organization am I looking at? What is the style, the culture like? Is it a big corporate? Is it a startup environment? What is the leadership like? How do my values align to this organization? So, from my experience, it boils down to a lot of factors that will
mm.
actually help you, determine the right step for you. And so we've looked at beginning stages. You're on our program. You've gone through everything we have to offer. Now I'm sure the audience wants to know what have you been up to since graduation, and now that your final career coaching session is coming up, what is next for you in your career journey?
Yeah. So I think probably the key thing I focused on having graduated was the portfolio. So following the advice that I got along the way, and also it's sensible, really kind of started to make notes for that along the way, not necessarily a finished product in terms of the website that I created, but just like, oh, as we were going along, what things do I want to mention that I've had experience with both on the course and in my career, so that when I came to sit down and create the portfolio, I wasn't starting from scratch. So that was quite a kind of big undertaking to set me up for success in kind of the job search. And then I've had quite a big distraction in the last few months in some house renovations that we've been working on. So I haven't been kind of deep into the job searching process, but I've started that now. So I'm kind of using LinkedIn quite heavily, kind of trying to, attend some networking events and things like that to get my name out there and see what opportunities there are. So yeah, I'm still in the process of the job search at the moment, but I feel so much more confident, and having all these recent experiences to be able to speak about, and all the things I've learned, I'm feeling in a good place to keep taking that forward.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing, Claire. I'm sure anyone in the audience that has did home renovations would know the extent of work that goes into it, the uprooting of your routine. So understandably, now that it's done, hopefully it can be a focus of you to really work with your career coach's advice and start working towards those goals. But importantly, I think highlighting is that not everyone's journey is the same. I think it's very hard to find two similar journeys
Mm,
on our career accelerators. So for some students, they are in it from day one. It's important for them to land a role, and that is the goal they have in mind. So their focus is very much on the next role, getting through the course to ultimately get the position, while some candidates might want to get through the course and focus on that journey afterwards. And in clear situations, something might come up where you need to just put it on pause and then reconvene at a later time. But the importance is that you have the skills and the tools. So regardless of when you're using them, it's still at your disposal, and it's something that you use and work with for a very long time. So thank you so much, Claire, for sharing everything, for getting through the program, and for helping some students today. I think before we get into the Q&A, when I see already some good questions coming through, is there any advice you'd give to our audience today and those that might watch this video in future? Is there any advice you'd give in that decision making process to help someone decide if this is the right program for them?
mm. Um, I think. while this hasn't been my experience, I can see from the experience of my peers, and I can well imagine that like choosing something at the right time for you when you can dedicate time to properly engage, and not see it as just a tick box exercise perhaps, but actually engage with the materials and with your tutor, your career coach, your success manager, and your fellow learners. That certainly felt to me like an important thing to get the most out of this. So yeah, picking the time that's right for you when you feel you have the capacity and the kind of headspace to engage, I think would be important. And then once you do, I think engaging as much as you can. I certainly, like I said, have felt like the relationships that I've developed has been a really big part of this. It's a network for you going forward, as well as, can enrich your life in other ways, kind of meeting new people and making friends. So yeah, I think thinking carefully about that. And obviously, I think people who have different aspects they want to focus on, may look at course content and compare things, and find that the focus from, if other areas might be more important to them. But for me, it was, ideal in terms of the scope and the structure. But yeah, I think I hope that, you'll know what's right for you and get a sense like I did as to what's the right choice to make. But yeah, I think engaging as fully as you can is really helpful, and certainly for me made it a very fulfilling experience.
Thanks so much for sharing, Claire. And yes, I think important as well, you mentioned in the beginning, Claire, that you spoke with your enrollment advisor and you told them the circumstances, you told them your concerns, and on that call, they helped you make that decision as well. So I urge everyone, if you haven't spoken to your enrollment advisor already, please do book your call with them. I will put the link into the chat. Book your call. If there are certain circumstances you are concerned about, let's say you're traveling on certain dates, you're not sure if this is the right course for you, you're not sure about how the program would fit into your schedule, please have a chat with your enrollment advisor. We'll pull up the course calendars and we'll be able to go through your specific questions with you on that call. So yeah, thanks for everyone who's posted up questions already. Please remember we'll use the Q&A chat function for questions to Claire. Some of these questions we've ran through already with Claire, but I'll just run through them again for clarity. And then any other comments, please do use the chat function. So first question is around the certificate, Claire, whether they'll receive a certificate. The answer is yes, you'll be given your certificate from King's. Claire, have you received your certificate yet?
I have, yeah, and also
All right.
through the website platform Credly, we also get a little badge for each of the modules that you can post to LinkedIn and things like that. So I've done that and found that quite helpful, kind of to, give credibility to what it is that you've just learnt.
That's fantastic to hear. So yes, you'll receive your certificate and badges after the course is complete. Another question, Claire. I have no work experience. How hard would it be for me to get started? So I'll touch on this a bit and then over to you, Claire. So I think again, as Claire mentioned, there are so many different backgrounds on our course. Not every learner is going to have the same amount of work experience and experience in the same industry. So, again, if you're concerned about, with no work experience, how you'll find work, each role will have different requirements. And again, with our coaching, we'll try and see is the work experience you do perhaps have relevant in any context to the work that you're looking to do and help you transfer those skills over. But from your side, Claire, maybe you'd like to add on is do you see no work experience in design being a barrier for anyone?
Bit hard for me to say, I guess, because I did have quite a bit of work experience coming into it. I mean, certainly if I think about the content, everything is explained kind of very clearly and put into context in examples that I think most people could relate to. I think there'd be some things where you would engage more if you could relate it to your own experience, but I think that would I don't see it as a barrier. I mean, I think we had people on our course who were, much younger and had much less experience, and they got plenty out of it. But I think I'd just have to echo what you say, Jamie, because it's a bit hard when your own experience is quite different to really imagine what that would be like. But yes, I mean, and like I said, there's lots of further reading and things. So if you don't have experience in something, there's lots of other things you can read to benefit from other people's thoughts and experience on it. So I wouldn't see that as a barrier.
No, thank you so much. And I agree, as you said earlier, Claire, a few years ago, the resources we have today weren't even a thought. And today we have the world at our fingertips in terms of information, and it can come in a split second. You could know absolutely nothing 1 minute and then give yourself a few hours on Google or YouTube and suddenly you are experts.
Mm.
So this is just the world we live in. Please don't see this as a barrier, but trust the career coaching process as well, because
Mm.
our coaches have worked with so many students from so many different backgrounds, and no one shoe fits all. Then another question we have, Claire, is, a bit different in your situation again, but our attendee says they work a 4-day week. They ideally like to continue working full time. How would they work full time on the course? So I think you said, Claire, that you were on the program with certain students that were working full time, and every situation is different. Do you think you could have completed the program with a standard, let's say, 9 to 5 full-time role?
I think so, yes. And I saw my colleagues and my fellow learners do that. It's definitely intense. They were kind of, it's you have to make sacrifices in your social life probably and in your family life and things like that. But I think they were generally much more disciplined than I, described, that I had a bit more flexibility. So I think that discipline and structure would be important to make sure you got things done. But yes, I saw it done successfully by my fellow learners. And I think, yeah, I think, say, like the tutorials that we had were generally, and most calls were positioned around a lunchtime kind of slot and in the UK time zone. So, if people were able to kind of take a lunch break, I know every workplace is different and that's not always feasible, but I think the course does everything they can to try and accommodate that. And again, probably where the success manager and the career coach would be helpful to just help you plan and, hold you accountable to using the time that you have effectively.
Oh, very, very well said, Claire. It's a bit of self-discipline, or quite a lot of self-discipline needed. It's a short period of time. In most circumstances, 6 months is relatively considered a short period, but it's intense. Although it can be considered short, one has to have that level of discipline coming in to know that, I've invested my time, invested my finances, and at the end of it, there is something to be gained. It's just about getting through that structure of the program, which by all means is definitely worth it. So the program is designed for those working full time. It's, as long as you can do the minimum hours, get through each module. As Claire said, there's a checklist at the end of each week, which will say, this is what I need to do this week. So you will then be in charge of that checklist. So, you find the time in the week. We have those live sessions there for support of the self-paced study, but most of the time you will be responsible. But again, as Claire said, you have so much support, so many cheerleaders behind you, but one must also rely on self-discipline as well. So then, was there any specific tools or software that you use, Claire, that anyone should, be proficient in?
I don't think you have to be proficient in it to start, but we definitely learned about software. That was again one of my kind of favorite elements, was learning how to use Figma and Miro. So you obviously learn this as if you decide to go ahead, but Figma is a wireframing tool where you can build mock-ups and prototypes of apps and websites and things like that. One thing that I felt really proud of and kind of a bit of a milestone for like the satisfaction that you get out of doing something is one of the earliest sessions where our tutor kind of showed us how you can use it, in full, as she might do in her day-to-day work. And you watch and you think, oh my God, that's like a lot. And how am I going to get up to speed? And then by the end, you're finding yourself turning out your own wireframes and prototypes and doing it confidently. And, so that's really nice kind of part of the learning journey. And then Miro, which is a whiteboarding tool and a collaboration tool. So we use those very effectively throughout. It's integrated into what you're doing. So you're practically applying what you're learning into those softwares. So yeah, like I said, certainly not a prerequisite for signing up, because I had no experience in either of those tools and now consider myself a relatively proficient user, and I think that will help a lot in future roles. Like I said, you'll also use the platforms, and you'll have to figure out kind of navigating those to access your content and collaborate and the community aspects, but those are very intuitive, and I think something that most people who are regular users of the internet or apps or other kinds of tools would find easy enough. So yeah, I think no other prerequisites that I can think of. I don't know if you have anything to add, Jamie.
No, thank you, Claire. So again, just to echo what you said, Figma is from course 2 and 3. Figma is what we use for wireframing, prototyping, so many videos and tutorials on YouTube. So if you haven't heard of Figma before and you're a bit concerned about it, please don't be. Just visit YouTube, type in some tutorials, getting started with Figma, and you'll be able to see how easy it is to get started, start playing around with the functionality, so that by the time you're in full swing of the program, you're not going to be phased by Figma at all. And then Miro, great tool for collaboration. I personally still use it in my spare time. I think it's a great collaboration tool for brainstorming ideas and working in teams. I've worked in a few organizations that use this as a tool. And then G Suite, of course, everyone must have used G Suite in some sense, but Gmail, Google Drive, knowing how to save folders, having organizational skills within the G Drive and the G Suite as well is beneficial. But other than that, everything you need on the program will be provided by us. So no specific software skill requirements. Then another question we have is cohort size and whether there's lots of collaboration. So we usually see sizes of about 25 learners. We usually cap it at about 20 to 25 learners per cohort. So this is our sizes of each class. And then, as Claire said, lots of collaboration in different parts of the program. So you have peer reviews, you'll have the one main group project, you have weekly group sessions where learners get together, and in Claire's case, she's even met up and befriended a few of our students. So she's built lifelong friendships and relationships as a result. So yes, 25 usual size, lots of collaboration and lots of lifelong friends to be made. So that's thanks for the question. And then another question is how long is our weekly sessions? So please correct me if I'm mistaken, Claire, but we have a 1 hour class, and then there's one or two 30-minute drop-in sessions as well for the week.
Yes, yeah, that was my experience.
Okay, so likely we'll follow the same structure. If there are any changes, these will be announced during your orientation weeks, and all class times and schedules are subject to change until that orientation period. So that's when they'll be finalized. So another question, considering changing to product design, but I'm concerned about how oversaturated the market seems to be. I've read posts on Reddit from people stating that it's just too full of people from boot camps and very difficult to land entry-level roles. Have you found this the case? So, Claire, any insights into this question?
No, only in that I share the concern, and obviously until I secure a role, I can't tell you really whether that's true or not. Yeah, I think there's quite mixed messages online. Like on the one hand, I felt like when I was researching the course, I felt like, it's a hot area, lots of organizations are growing in this space, but then also I have seen those same posts on like Medium and LinkedIn and things about the area being oversaturated. Yeah, I don't think it's something I can kind of appropriately provide reassurance on because I'm in the same boat. But I think maybe a way to look at this might be that the course does give you, I think, a lot of transferable skills, things like collaboration, empathy, problem solving, presentation, all these different things, can be useful in lots of different contexts, and I think can only add value to you in the job market. So I think whether you end up applying those to UX and product design or something else, I think it's kind of a worthwhile experience. But yes, I kind of share those concerns, and I think it's a business reality right now. But if you can differentiate yourself and kind of find areas where you excel, or you can add something in particular, I think the career coaches will kind of help you identify that and then position yourself in a way that helps you to stand out from the masses in this space. So I think you've got every opportunity to make it work, and I certainly hope for that for myself.
No, I understand. And again, as you said, your journey had something come up that wasn't expected. So for every student, that is going to be slightly different in when you land your role. What type of role you land is also, we could bring in different students and they would have a different explanation as well. So depending on the student's background, your background in particular, your journey would be slightly different. So we have many more questions to get through, and we are almost at the end of the time. So I'll ask us as the audience to please vote up any questions that you want answered. That is the thumbs up button under the question in the Q&A segment. Please use that to vote up your top 2 or 3 questions, so that we can get through those before wrapping up. One of them was, what are 1 or 2 transferable skills that you brought from your last role that will help you within your next role?
Yeah, like I said, as a consultant, I was doing a lot of problem solving, communicating with stakeholders, things like that. So that kind of helped me, was relevant for UX design and product design. And I think I could build on those or think about them in kind of interesting new ways and how they could be applied in different contexts. So as I said, things like that, empathizing with users, understanding their needs, those were kind of similar to me. I mean, like I said, I think in response to one of the other questions, it was helpful even to have reassurance of things you've been doing in the past, but like see them within a formal framework or understand where that kind of approach originates from and things like that, to kind of help you get confidence in what you're doing, as well as learning new things that you wouldn't have done before. There was quite a bit around research that hadn't been much part of my roles in the past. So, some areas just feel much more new to you and you think, okay, I'm starting from scratch here. I don't know the terminology. I don't know the latest thinking. So I think most people would probably bring that mix of things they were familiar with and they could build on versus things that were a bit more new. I don't know if that answers the question, but that's my thoughts.
No, definitely does. Thank you, Claire. We have one popular winner, popular question here amongst the few that we have left. So, out of all the online courses, Claire, and there seems to be so many to choose from according to our question, why the fourth day of Career Accelerator out of every single option you had on the internet?
Well, I have to confess, I didn't do lots of due diligence. I did some, but I wasn't as rigorous as I know some people would be. So, like I said, mine was more of an instinctive decision about the people that I met, the things I read, everything spoke to me as something that was suitable and fit with my values and my approach. So I can't say that I was, have a spreadsheet that compares all the available courses and accelerators and boot camps and things. But so yeah, I might not be the best person to ask, but I think there's a lot to be said for trusting your instincts and what feels right for you and what would work for you. So I think that's all I can say on that matter. But I have no regrets, as I hope it's come across that I got a lot out of the course, both in terms of knowledge and experience, but also from relationships, networks, kind of building my confidence, helping me feel ready to re-enter the job market. So yeah, kind of very positive from my perspective, but everyone has to make their own decision. And I hope you all have the knowledge enough kind of at your fingertips to be able to make the right one for you.
Yep. Key takeaway: due diligence. As Claire said, it's important to have a look at whether this program is right for you. There are lots of options, as you said, but Claire followed the right process of having a look to see if it meets a few check boxes. She then said yes. She booked a call with an enrollment advisor to see whether those check boxes meets reality and expectation, and they did. And from there, her enrollment advisor took her through that journey of knowing everything she needs to know and then making that final decision to join us. So the few other questions that are still remaining, I'll be able to take answer those very quickly. But I'd firstly like to say thank you on behalf of myself and the Fourth Dev team, Claire, for firstly joining us today, but most importantly for choosing our career accelerator to begin with, and successfully getting through it. All the best with the rest of your home renovations,
Thank
and
you.
all the best of luck with your next opportunity. Um, Please join me, everyone, in saying thank you so much to Claire. And please stick around before I end, just to go through a few house rules. Thank you, Claire. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jamie, and good luck, everyone. I hope this has been helpful.
Bye bye. So yes, again, everyone, thank you for joining. Next steps from here is that please, if you still have unanswered questions within the next few minutes, or you do want to find out more, please book a time with your enrollment advisor. Uh, to answer those questions, we are more than happy to walk you through everything you need to know: cost, application, starting dates, how we support learners, and what you get out of the program. So please do use that. Again, I've posted some links in the chat channel where you can book a call, you can download our brochures, and find all the resources that you do need to. So just quickly on some of the last questions. Um, what other career opportunities has opened up since completing the course? So again, Claire is still starting that journey. She did have something come up, but she is now fully focused on that career journey. Again, for every learner, it's different. So if you want your career journey focus to start from day one, that is possible. You'll have about 6 career coaching sessions as a standard, unless you are doing one of our incentives, which does see an extension in the career coaching offered. Please speak to your enrollment advisors about our early incentive package and benefit. How does the course provide value to participants with existing UI? So again, have a look at our curriculum, have a look at whether the curriculum and the outcomes meet what you're looking for. And if you're not too sure, please do book a time with your advisor. So, fortunately, that's all the questions I do have time to get through today. There are still some, but please, I do encourage you, if I did not get to your question today, please run either email or book a time with your enrollment advisor to run through them. But thank you again, everyone, for joining me. It's been great to speak with you, and I hope to see you on our course come February 10th. All the best. Goodbye.